It probably comes as no surprise to you that maybe some of the recent updates have probably broken a thing or two in Galaxy of Heroes. And right now, what's going on in my Discord, in my guild Discord, and a few of the other places that I do frequent, is apparently people are having some issues with the Zeffo unlock mission. There was recently an IPD kit rework that seems to have had some sort of change to how the IPD unit works in the Zeffo unlock mission. So I want to go over with you now to try and warn some people about that and try to give you advice. I'm going to go over modding and how to beat that mission again. I do have an old guide that people still do watch to this day, and that one is still fairly good. The modding principles and the approach still kind of make sense, but it's a little bit outdated. So this is a new update for you guys, as well as a PSA to say, be careful if you're going into the Zeffo mission. So this is what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. This post was made earlier today, 9 hours ago. Are other guilds also cutting it close or not getting to unlock Zeffo thanks to the IPD rework, or is it just ours? This is one of the posts on Reddit about it, as well as what I have seen on Discord. And as you can see, quite a lot of people are seeing a marked downturn in their success rates. Over here, an average of 43 to 46 has gone down to 17 out of 23, so they've already lost 5 drops, when usually they don't really have that many. Where else have we got? 38 stars last TB39, normally set at 80%, and now they're at 9 out of 21. This is a huge drop off. And the funny thing is the IPD rework that we got shouldn't really be interacting with this. Usually when a kit gets a rework, they don't tend to change how the kit works in PvE. You can see that with stuff like go and play the old tank raid, and the General Grievous that you've got in there is completely different to the modern day General Grievous. That happens in quite a lot of things when they have to change the unit to a boss unit, so it takes reduced damage and it has increased stats and all this sort of business, right? The kit rework that we got was really around ISB benefits and stuff like that, and from what I can gather, one of the changes that seems to have made it into live is now that IPD can now actually critically hit when it does its explosion. It never used to. Supposedly what people are seeing is they're seeing IPD constantly blowing himself up without actually losing any health. Now I haven't actually seen any video footage of that happening, so I can't comment to it. There's nothing you can really do if it is the case. I'd love to see some recorded footage. If anybody's got it, link it in the description down below so we can see and we can send that off to Meathead, because it should only ever blow up if it drops below 100% health. And that's how I'll sort of teach you guys how to play this mission to maximum efficiency. If you are really concerned about IPD always blowing up, the best way to approach this really is to mod both Cere and Cal for boatloads of armor. I'm talking 73% plus armor and as much speed as you possibly can. That way you do mitigate most of the damage. If he is critting, which is the only change that I've seen personally on these explosions, it's a lot harder to mitigate that damage. Either way, this guide is still a useful way of approaching the mission when it gets fixed. So when we actually look at the Imperial probe droid over here and we look at the self-destruct ability, it says that it instantly defeats itself and does massive damage to the target enemy and an additional 30% of their max health as damage, right? That's not how the IPD explosion works within the Zeffo mission. It is different in the Zeffo mission, okay? We can tell this just by the color of the damage, all right? And let me show you some screenshots from previous versions, okay? So over here, I'll grab this picture very quickly. This is from a long time ago, okay? Sorry, this is from a recent video that I saw on YouTube of somebody beating the mission. As you can see, IPD has done a critical hit here. This yellow is a physical attack that is critically hit. You can see that it's red over here. Didn't critically hit on Cal Kestis, and it only did a nominal amount of damage. And over here, it's yellow damage. So this is with the new update, the most recent version. And you can see it again over here on this counter right here. You can see Cal over here took 315,000 damage, which I don't care how much modding you've got, you're not going to have that much health. You can lower this with correct modding, by modding for defense, but really the way you beat this mission is by not letting the IPD blow up. And you can see it crits over here, right? So that's 2 instances that we can immediately show of it critting. Now I've got a couple of screenshots over here. This is one from Arnold's video guide on how to do the unlock. No critical hits, physical damage, no max health damage or anything like that. So this is the old way it was working, not critically hitting, able to mitigate that damage by throwing in defense, right? Over here, not critically hitting, but not modded for defense, 190,000. That's kind of the old style. And over here, one final look. This is one of my videos that I recorded, not critically hitting, lowered damage thanks to modding for high levels of defense. So even if it does blow up, then you're going to be fine and you'll survive that hit. This is the benefit of modding for defense for this mission. I'm not necessarily saying that's what you need to be doing, but this is just something to show you the context of how did IPD used to work and how is he working now. It's only if he's blowing up that he's causing real issues. The Purge Trooper, the kits themselves, those haven't changed to my knowledge. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about the approach that I take to beating this mission and how we can help you. I've got a brief infographic. We're going to just bring this up. If anybody wants access to this, it is going to be on my Discord server. Links to that are in the description. I'm going to hide my face so we can read it. So, first of all, modding. If you get your Cal, 100k plus health, 300 speed, and as much potency as you possibly can, he's going to be good. If you can also mod him for as much defense as possible with hitting these thresholds, even better. You can actually lower this health, and if you can get his defense to like 73%, he's going to be absolutely fine. You'll never take any damage. Cere, on the other hand, just realized we've got a double E here from my wonderful keyboard. You want as much protection as possible, over 100k, speed about 260, and as much armor as possible. If you can get this up to like 73%, 75%, she's going to shrug off every single hit like it's not even there. I do this on a Relic 7 Cere when I was running this, and this is my Cal is Relic 9, so my stats are a little bit easier to hit. If he's Relic 10, the potency is going to be even easier. The reason we mod for potency is because when we use this first special over here, we are almost guaranteed to land a stun the higher your potency. You can get him up to like 95%. His base is quite low, so you do need to mod appropriately for it. Now, the approach that I take is, in Wave 1, you focus on one of the Purge Troopers, okay? And you want to start off with Windmill Slam. Don't start off with this dual configuration one. Do not start off with this, okay? Whirlwind Slam, Windmill Defense. I always get these two mixed up. You always start off with the Slam, and then Whirlwind Defense you use once during the wave. If you use this first, you will get Retribution, and the likelihood of somebody hitting you and you counter-attacking into IPD means you will attack that IPD under his protection, lowering his max health below 100%, which allows him to blow up. Don't do it. You only go Slam, then you go Windmill Defense, because at this point, IPD will use his special to dispel, and then he'll lose his taunt, okay? Then you go back into the stun with the Slam ability, Whirlwind Slam. Then you've got your insta-kill. So you focus on one Purge Trooper until you get your insta-kill. You use the insta-kill on the unit that is not been damaged, and after that, you have to bounce between Whirlwind Slam and Impetuous Assault, okay? Never go back into the Windmill Defense, okay? Because you don't need that counterattack. You don't want to run the risk of lowering IPD below max health, all right? This, with enough potency, will always control the opponent. You don't need Omnis for this or nothing, okay? You'll almost always land that stun if your potency is high enough and you've got enough speed to bounce back and forth. The last thing is, at the end of the wave, do not end the wave in Whirlwind Slam, because you need to be able to use that first time going into in Wave 2, okay? With Cere, it really doesn't matter what you do. Just press buttons. If IPD is taunting, use the event special ability to cleanse that. That's literally all you have to do, all right? Cool. And Wave 2, you do the same thing. Exactly the same thing, all right? We don't need to overcomplicate it. Focus on one unit. Try to use the insta-kill on Second Sister, because why not? It doesn't really make a huge difference, but she does have more damage output than the Purge Trooper. So, you know, you'll do your first basic, you'll dispel her taunt, then you just go ahead and slam the Purge Trooper, go into Windmill Defense, then slam him again, and then you've got your insta-kill pretty much, okay? So let's go over my latest video guide that I did for this. I recorded this earlier today because a lot of people were talking about how it's different, right? Let's get this up. And I'll bring my face back for good measure. For good measure. All right, so this isn't even using that stat spread. This is using a non-optimized stat spread, because I don't remod for this anymore. I showed that modding at the top for like high level. This is how you probably should do it. I've got 130k protection over here and 264 speed. Her modding doesn't really matter. As like I said, if you really want to guarantee it, you mod for high levels of defense. I've not got her modded for defense here. And then we've got Cal Kestis, okay? My Cal over here is 300 speed and just under 80% potency. This could obviously be better, but like I said, I don't mod for this anymore. I don't remod for it because it's more about the approach than anything. As long as you've got good potency, you will be able to control the field. All right, so here we go. You want to focus on one Purge Trooper and then you slam, okay? This got resisted because my potency wasn't quite high enough and there's always a 15% base chance to resist. It's not the biggest deal in the world if they resist this. I've only got the leadership army on over here, so there's nothing here. IPD is taunting. What do? We go ahead, use the event special ability, cleanse that taunt. Now, if we didn't cleanse the taunt and we'd instead have used our whirlwind defense, Cal would have had retribution and he would attack under protection. On that assist there, if we hadn't cleansed this taunt, Cal would have counterattacked and likely hit the IPD under protection, giving him the ability to blow up. We don't want that. That's why we start with whirlwind defense, okay? Whirlwind slam, sorry. Then you do your basic. Now you go into windmill defense. And if you notice now, when IPD takes his turn, wait for it, you see how he basic there? Because he wasn't taunting, we got rid of it. We just did a basic attack over here. Absolutely fine. No risk of us triggering the extra attack over here. Then you go back into the slam. Look, we've got the stun, we've got the speed down, so we don't have to worry too much about incoming damage. Basic, then we go and insta-kill the second guy. When it gets to this point, you will never go into whirlwind defense ever again, okay? It's always windmill slam, impetuous assault, all right? That's all you have to do. You never touch that IPD again unless you are trying to end the round. Look, that stuns again, and armor shreds, obviously. Unless you are trying to end the round without using windmill slam. So right here, if I was in impetuous assault, for example, there might be a risk of us killing the Purge Trooper using the whirlwind slam, sorry. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that ability is available the first time we go into the next wave, okay? So I'm using impetuous assault, we get the kill here. If not, you can actually just go ahead and attack the IPD with another windmill slam just to reset the turns and get things right so that you can line up. If you're really lucky, you can finish this first wave with just a basic from Cal, and he'll start the next round with his turn again. It's great. Okay, goes into wave 2. Super easy. Once again, all we want to do here is focus on one unit. I'm going to focus on the Purge Trooper, keep on stacking up the armor shreds and stunning him, and ignore the IPD, all right? So start off, we'll just use a basic here. Basic on Trilla or Second Sister, and then I accidentally, because I wasn't thinking, I used this on Second Sister. You want to use this on the Purge Trooper. She resisted the stun, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Then we've got the double taunt up. So over here, we want to make sure 100% of the time that IPD never has taunt. Use the event special ability here. We'll cleanse off that taunt, so there's zero risk of us accidentally hitting him, okay? And when I say this, I mean accidentally hitting him with Cal in his whirlwind defense stance, okay? So we go into whirlwind defense here. This is the issue. You see, you've got this counterattack, and when he counterattacks, he's going to hit under that protection, and that's going to trigger IPD. So we're just going to focus on the Purge Trooper. IPD over there just used his scan ability. No basics, all right? We get hit over here because there's no taunt on IPD. We can safely just attack the Purge Trooper. And then we use the specials. Doesn't really matter what you do with Cere. And we go back to focusing on Purge Trooper, okay? IPD is in no risk here of blowing up and get rid of Second Sister. And because we're never going into whirlwind defense ever again, we're never running the risk of attacking under IPD's protection. That's what's killing people, is letting the IPD blow up, okay? And then we finish off with an insta-kill. It should be that easy, but it is absolutely true that people are failing it, and the IPD can now, for some reason, crit on that hit, and if you're not modded for boatloads of defense, you will lose a unit. But even in my guild, I'll show you now, even in my guild, people are dropping against this mission that we don't normally drop on, okay? So look, we've had 27 successful attempts out of 39. That is really low. We're normally like 49. You know, this is really low for us. You know, having 12 failed attempts is practically unheard of. But you can try and minimize the chances of you messing this up and losing the battle by modding correctly and taking the correct approach. Okay, so I'm just trying to give yourselves the tools, the best tools for you to beat this mission without dropping it, because missing out on getting to Zeffo is quite significant. There's an extra star here. You can get Chirotech. You can get additional Mark 3, Get 3 guild event tokens, essentially, right? So you want to try and make sure that you get as many people finishing this mission, even if you're not going for the unlock. Like, there's just so many good things to get from Zeffo, right? You also get bonus Mark 2 just for doing the unlock mission. Cool. All right, I want to know any more from you guys about, have you experienced this mission going a little bit topsy-turvy? If you've got recordings for it as well, I would love to see it. I'll have a word with Meathead later on today when he's in the office, just to see what's going on with this mission. Why is it bugged? What has changed about IPD? Because nothing in the ISB tag should really be affecting it. They haven't changed the way explosion works, at least not to my knowledge, except for now, for some reason, he can crit when he never used to be able to crit on that hit. It's never done the max health damage, and it's never done the true damage, which is massive damage. Massive damage is just 99,999. Unmitigatable true damage, right? So something has changed. Something has changed in the coding. Nobody knows why. Maybe we can get some answers for you. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if this video was useful to you, do hit that like button. Leave me a comment in the section down below if you were successful, and I will see you all in the very next video. Peace out, and may the Force be with you.